Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this episode of the Dan Dawson Show. So let's take a look at everybody's favorite rhino, Liz Cheney. God, what a useless piece of shit she is. She will strip you of your gun rights, make vaccines mandatory. I guess she wants to be the eighth member of the squad, the Nazi squad. Let's listen to what she has to say. Well, not listen, I'm going to read it to you. But this is from the Associated Press by Michael Casey. Casey, whatever. I don't know. Why do I always have a hard time pronouncing people's names? Anyway, not important. Manchester, New Hampshire. Republican Representative Liz Cheney of Wyoming said Tuesday that former President Donald Trump is at war with the rule of law and the Constitution, and that GOP lawmakers who sat by silently are aiding his efforts. Donald Trump is no longer in power, people. Right? It seems like he's still president the way they keep attacking because they fear him. Now, keep in mind, she said Trump is at war with the rule of law and the Constitution. Meanwhile, Joe Biden just ignored the Supreme Court. His administration has come out and blatantly ignored the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It would not surprise me if he put out a mandate tomorrow to strip people of their firearms rights and their freedom of speech rights. Now, remember, Pelosi and the Democrats, who this crazy woman has aligned herself with, came out earlier this year and encouraged the mandate that Facebook, YouTube censor conservative voices. Now, of course, they didn't do it because they didn't want to get sued, or they shadow did it. It's been done. Don't believe me? I was watching Greg on the Black Conservative Perspective, right? I just happened to ask him. I was like, how do you have 20-something likes but only 8 views? That's impossible because they're chopping down the views. So when you look at something that's conservative on YouTube, understand they're chopping down the views. So let's continue reading, shall we? Cheney, a Trump critic who is vice chair of a congressional committee investigating the January 6th Capitol insurrection, said the challenge is now whether citizens will do their duty and defend the Constitution and stand for truth. Lady, you don't want us doing our duty and defending the Constitution. You're going to be one of the first ones against a fucking wall. You, that bitch Pelosi. So never mind that the House of Interior was just taken over. Federal officers were hurt. Not a word about it. Not a word. And this just happened 2 weeks ago. Not a word about it anywhere in the mainstream media. This is ridiculous. You do not want us defending the Constitution. Because the day we have to is going to be a bad day for people like this. Defend the Constitution, vote them out of office. That's what I say. Will we put duty to our oath above partisan politics? Or will we look away from the danger and the threat, embrace the lies, and enable the liar? Cheney asked, speaking at a First Amendment event in New Hampshire. There is no gray area when it comes to that question. When it comes to this moment, there is no middle ground. So here you have, ladies and gentlemen, basically she can run under the Republican ticket, but she's basically a Democrat. She probably never got over how Trump just completely ran over her father. It was crazy. But they're telling you there's no middle ground. There is no middle ground. This is why I keep saying it. I said it yesterday in my video. We are past the point to where a peaceful divorce is probable. Now it's highly unlikely. If the weatherman came on and said, rain is highly unlikely today, would you wear a raincoat? It's people like this. And see, they'll talk, but they're not going to be involved in the fighting. There's going to be skirmishes between ordinary U.S. citizens, well, some ordinary U.S. citizens, some combat veterans, and they're going to be nowhere to be found. And then when the smoke clears, they'll still be in a position of power. See, they don't care about the division they cause. They don't care about the destruction they cause. All they care about is money and power. Look at her face. You can see it in her makeup caked face. Ridiculous. Cheney was one of 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach Trump on a charge of inciting the January 6th insurrection. Now, note, there was no vote. Remember the Chauvin riots? There was no vote or even a motion to impeach Maxine Waters, who said, oh, we got to get in their face, or we got to get out here in the streets. And if we don't get the verdict we want, we're going to burn it down. Not quoting, but somewhat. It's been a while. And then when people did burn it down, nobody even said anything. Pieces of shit. She might as well be a Democrat. Wyoming, don't reelect this crazy woman. Hundreds of Trump supporters violently pushed past police, broke into the U.S. Capitol building, and interrupted the certification of Joe Biden's presidential election victory in a futile bid to keep Trump in office. Her fierce criticism of Trump and her insistence that Congress investigate the Capitol attack resulted in her being removed from her position as GOP conference chair, led to a serious primary challenge back home. Cheney, a daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney, has framed Trump and the January 6th insurrection as an existential fight for the Republican Party and for democracy itself. You're not a Republican. Your father was a piece of shit. Let's just be honest. Your father cost more young American lives for no reason than any other vice president in history, and that's counting George Bush Sr. So yes, we're all mad at you. Go join the Democrats. They like killing Black and brown people. Apparently, you and your father like it too. Some Republican Party officials in Wyoming announced in August they will no longer recognize Cheney as a party member because of her vote to impeach Trump. Several also announced plans to challenge Cheney next year. Trump has endorsed Wyoming attorney Harriet Hagman for the seat. Cheney, for her part, has reported record fundraising far exceeding the amount raised by her competitors. On Tuesday, January 6th House Committee issued subpoenas to 10 more former officials who worked for Trump at the end of his presidency, including Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany and Senior Advisor Stephen Miller. Let's look at this crazy woman for a minute. See, here is the problem, right? That's the problem. Trump interrupted them. Because if you don't think this woman has benefited from her dad's crooked ways all her life, and look at her, she doesn't give a shit about you. You're wrong. All these people who are saying, oh, we came up amongst hard times, all these politicians, take the AOCs. They didn't really. They came up in super upper class middle houses, almost, well, like AOC's house would have considered part of the 1%. If you can afford that big a house in New York, talking about her parents, right? You're part of the 1%. 1% is only over $400,000 a year. So but look at this crooked ass woman. It's really ridiculous. Next, she'll be out supporting Alec Baldwin. And they're always coming after Trump. But Trump said it perfectly. He did. He goes, it's not about me. They're not after me. They're after you. I just happen to be standing between them. So yeah, if Trump runs again, he has my vote. Screw it. Screw it. Screw it. I'm voting for Trump. Then again, DeSantis did announce he's running. So if Trump doesn't run and DeSantis or Abbott runs, I'm voting for one of those two. DeSantis tends to give it to him as good as he gets, or better. So he's pretty good too. I think, it's going to be interesting for the Republican presidential nomination. But this woman, vote her out, Wyoming. You notice how they went to talking about fundraising. How much? Because now she has George Soros in her back pocket. Yes, she's been bought and paid for, like a $2 whore. You can bet on it. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to put this out there. But thank you. Like, subscribe, share. Especially in these days and times, do what you got to do.